Hook. What if everything you were taught about ancient history was only half the story? What if a civilization more advanced than anything the ancient world ever produced vanished overnight, leaving behind only a legend? Before you dismiss this as fantasy, consider this: the same man who wrote about Atlantis also founded the first university in Western history. Plato was no fiction writer. So why would one of history's greatest philosophers invent an entire civilization out of thin air? Intro. Subscribe for more mind-blowing history mysteries, and let's dive into the Lost City of Atlantis. For over 2,000 years, the story of Atlantis has captivated explorers, scientists, and dreamers. It appears in just 2 dialogues written by Plato around 360 BC, and yet it has spawned more books, expeditions, and debates than almost any other mystery in human history. The question is simple: was Atlantis real, or was Plato making a point? And if you stick around to the end, I'll show you the most compelling evidence that suggests the legend might have a very real foundation. Segment 1. Let's start with what Plato actually wrote. In his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, Plato describes a powerful naval empire that existed 9,000 years before his own time. According to the story, the Athenian statesman Solon learned about Atlantis from Egyptian priests during his travels. The island was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar, and it was larger than Libya and Asia combined. The rulers of Atlantis were descendants of Poseidon, the god of the sea, and his mortal wife Cleito. Poseidon carved the island into concentric rings of land and water, creating a natural fortress at the center. The inner city was covered in walls plated with brass, tin, and a mysterious metal called orichalcum that glowed like fire. This wasn't just a city. It was a superpower. Segment 2. So what happened to this incredible civilization? Plato tells us that the Atlanteans grew greedy and corrupt. They tried to conquer Athens and the rest of the known world, but the Athenians, portrayed by Plato as the ideal society, fought them back alone. And then, in a single day and night of catastrophic earthquakes and floods, Atlantis sank into the ocean and was never seen again. Many scholars believe Plato invented the entire story as an allegory. Aristotle, his own student, said Plato created Atlantis to teach a lesson about the dangers of imperial ambition. The philosopher Julianus put it bluntly: the continuing industry of discovering Atlantis illustrates the dangers of reading Plato. He was clearly using what has become a standard device of fiction. We have missed the point if instead of thinking about these issues we go off exploring the seabed. Segment 3. But here's where it gets interesting. While most scholars agree Atlantis is fictional, many historians believe Plato may have been inspired by real events. The most popular theory points to the eruption of Thera, modern-day Santorini, around 1600 BC. This was one of the largest volcanic eruptions in human history, 4 times more powerful than Krakatoa. It devastated the Minoan civilization on nearby Crete, which was Europe's first great advanced society. The Minoans had running water, multi-story buildings, elaborate art, and a navy that controlled the Mediterranean. Sound familiar? The eruption created massive tsunamis that could have destroyed coastal cities overnight. Another theory points to the ancient city of Helike, which sank into the Gulf of Corinth after an earthquake in 373 BC, right around the time Plato was writing. And some researchers suggest Plato combined elements from the Trojan War, the failed Athenian invasion of Sicily, and the Sea Peoples who attacked Egypt, all woven into a single powerful story. Segment 4. Subscribe now because the next part will blow your mind. The search for the real Atlantis has taken explorers to every corner of the globe. In 1882, Ignatius Donnelly published Atlantis, the antediluvian world, launching a revival of belief in Atlantis that continues today. He claimed that all ancient civilizations descended from Atlantis, that the Garden of Eden was located there, and that it was destroyed by the Great Flood. Edgar Cayce, the famous sleeping prophet, claimed during his trances that Atlantis would rise again in the 1960s near the Bermuda Triangle. Spoiler, it didn't. More recently, researchers have proposed locations everywhere from the Sahara Desert. The Rick-Hat structure, also known as the Eye of Africa, has suspicious concentric rings matching Plato's description, to the waters off Cuba, to Antarctica, to the Dogger Bank in the North Sea. Modern sonar surveys have found underwater structures near Japan's Yonaguni Monument and off the coast of Bimini, but none have been confirmed as man-made. Segment 5. So what's the real truth about Atlantis? Here's what we know for certain. Plate tectonics makes it impossible for a continent the size Plato described to have sunk in the Atlantic Ocean in the last 10,000 years. The ocean floor has been comprehensively mapped, and there is no sunken continent. The scholarly consensus is clear: Atlantis is a fictional device used by Plato to explore ideas about government, power, and morality. But that doesn't make it any less fascinating. The legend of Atlantis persists because it speaks to something deep in the human psyche, the fear that even the greatest civilizations can fall, and the hope that somewhere out there, incredible secrets are waiting to be discovered. The search itself tells us more about ourselves than about any lost island. And maybe that was Plato's point all along. OUTRO. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's greatest mysteries, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more videos every week. Share this video with someone who loves ancient mysteries, and let us know in the comments, do you think Atlantis was real, or just a story? Next time, we're exploring another conspiracy that will change how you see the world. Thanks for watching, and remember, history is always stranger than fiction.